Let's kick off the timer here. I got my presentation there. How's everyone feeling? Wow, that's the closing keynote energy. Love it. So I got a complaint from the photographer last time because I was moving a lot on stage. I just want to make sure that we are interacting with each other. So for everyone, my name is Saneback. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. As you can see, I'm tall and blonde. Yeah, I'm feeling the vibe of the room. That's great. But I've met a lot of wonderful people, and for being at a tech event, I think there's a lot of women in the audience. So big wow for all the women that are here. That's fantastic. Wow, love the energy. And I met a lot of young talent as well. So how many are here under 20 years old? Just say woo as well, just like the women. Woo woo. It's like, okay, love it. So we're gonna talk about. I was here last year back at Niche. And we were talking about the future of marketing. We talked about how the ICPs were changing. And now we're going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to look at this from a macro perspective of what's happening in the web industry in general. So let's kick it off, basically. The first thing is the web is experiencing what we would call an identity crisis. Just around when you turn 30, you experience that identity crisis. And it takes us a little bit back to where we started with the World Wide Web back in the day. What we actually created it for and what was the main purpose of it. And when I woke up this morning, just like the previous speaker, I also used Claude to make my presentation yesterday. But actually last year we used Vibe Coded by GenSpark, so there is an upgrade this year. But I was asking myself, okay, when was the last time that I browsed the web? And if you go back to the mid-90s, when the web actually was started, it was these very text-heavy websites with text links. You would click, and you would browse, and you would find the destination or whatever you're looking for. And that's kind of changed with the years. So what we're seeing right now is that there are, if we're going to generalize, there are two types of visitors on your website. There are the humans, and that's what we've been optimizing for all these years. The call to action buttons, how the design will look like above the fold, and yada, yada, yada. But there is another user that is coming in that is not a human user. There are these swarms of agents that are coming into your websites, and they don't really have eyes. So they're just looking at the source code, and they're looking at what your site is delivering. So you can kind of zoom out and bring it into three different eras. So whatever we started back in the mid-90s was the browsing era. A lot of these text-heavy websites. And when we got these cool smartphones around the 2010s, we started getting a lot of personalized content with social media. We started searching, using Google and whatnot to really find what we're looking for. And for the past 12, 18 months, we're in what we call the delegation era. So you would just send an AI or a software as a service that will do the dirty job for you. And people ask me, does that mean that websites are dead? The answer is abso-freaking-lutely not. Websites are not dead, but maybe browsers will be, or what we think of a browser in a traditional sense. And that is a behavior that is changing year by year. So the second observation is the brief is just expanding. So everything that we've learned for the past decade or two is still applicable. We're just going to broaden our horizon a little bit. We're going to take that scope and broaden it a little bit. And I'll zoom into what I mean by that. If our brief historically to a marketing agency or a web agency was, hey, can you build me a cool website that wants people to visit it? Maybe the scope is broadening a little bit, and we're asking, can you build me a presence that humans can trust, but that agents can understand and machines can understand? So it's not only about the sexy, cool visual things, it's also about the behavioral components of it. And I'll give you an example from my own life. I'm currently looking for a new car. And I'm a little bit lazy, so instead of going and browsing into different marketplaces for the car, I just told my preferences to one of my agents, and I sent it across the web to look for it. And I got 3 options, basically. And this is probably what we're going to do. Maybe when you want to book a hotel next time, you're not going to just go to Expedia or Hotels.com. you're just going to say, hey, I'm traveling maybe to Belgrade on between those dates, and I'm flexible on this or that, and this is my budget, and this is what I would like to have. I need a pool, very important, and then I need this and that. Give me the best 3 options. And this is exactly what is happening right here and right now. So maybe the question that we should ask ourselves, okay, so where is the human in all of this? Maybe the pre-qualification is actually happening by these agents, and that's just the human is just clicking the final button. So much of the work around the web has been focused on the surface layer, with all the respect to the SEO people in the room, but it's been more about the human web and how the design is really taking the user on a user journey, how we're taking them, how we're converting and whatnot. And then, of course, there's the search layer, how you're crawled across the internet, how you're indexed, and how you're being found by the robots. And now we have this third layer that is coming in, which is the agent web, which the previous speakers have been talking about as well. Now, the thing is, I don't think that you should optimize for one of those in silo. They go all hand in hand. So that means that the human web is still going to matter moving forward, and so will the search, although our definition of the search web might be changing a little bit. And we're seeing it, for example, with how Google is adapting to changes with the integration of Gemini. But I think the biggest reality check is going to be in the next 12 or 18 months of how the agent web will be interfering or interacting and injecting its power across the World Wide Web. So don't think about those components in silo. They're all interconnected. Now, the third observation is like, yeah, there's a lot of yada, 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 yada. Do you have any tangible number? One person smiled, exactly. So there's a lot of talks about what is happening in the industry, and here's a guy going to come in and tells you, doomsday, it's going to be this and that. Let's take some actual numbers and look at where the industry is right now in the last couple of months. So we know, as a matter of fact, that the automated traffic has grown 8 times between 2025 and 2024. And if you're going to compare that to the 2026 numbers, it is blown out of proportions. So we're seeing a lot of automated traffic. Some of it is, of course, AI-driven. That's kind of doubled last year. And those numbers are just exploding. So the AI agent traffic last year grew almost 8,000% approximately. And we can expect that to grow by the tens of thousands year on year from the levels of where we are today. Is it big? Well, it's still quite a small fraction of the entire web traffic, but it is growing tremendously. So be aware of that as we move on. And of course, we can talk about all these AI models and what is happening. Everything is changing almost on daily basis. I've also fallen in love with building my own skills and markdown files and second brain and everything possible. There's so much excitement. But the question is, what can you actually do? How can we leverage all this amazing technologies that is happening in our day-to-day operations? So here are some more tangible numbers. We can take a look at a company like HubSpot, which has seen a tremendous impact by 3/4 of their traffic in the past couple of months, the organic traffic. That is tremendous for a company of that size. You can take a media company like Business Insider, which have, in the same window of time, seeing a huge impact on its traffic mix. And we're going to see this kind of disruption happening now as the AI and the agents are coming into the mix as well. So what does success look like? Maybe that's one of the questions that we're going to ask ourselves. And who is being disrupted? Maybe the ones who are becoming disrupted are actually the middlemen. The middle layer is going to go first. It's going to have the most impact. It's something like price aggregators or content farms or all these SEO portals with bullshit articles, pardon my French, that have been just synthetically generated by AI and previous models. Those probably going to be the ones that don't offer the most substance. And those are the ones that are going to be mostly disrupted in the initial phase. So we're seeing that there is a new layer that is being wired into the mix in the industry. And we've heard previous speakers talk about AEO, but how are you going to make yourself being called within a website? So what we see on the left-hand side here is the previous experience. You would have an agent or an LLM sending an agent to you and just crawling your website, scraping it, trying to understand the various components, taking screenshots and whatnot. And sometimes it fails. The JavaScripts don't load, or there is some kind of an issue. Where we're heading, obviously, is, you offer a clarification of what the website purpose is. There's a tool manifest, and you can do a call. So when I'm now looking and hunting on my new car, it is still in the left-hand bucket. It's still a couple of agents going out and trying to figure out how the website works, how the filters are, and sending me a couple of screenshots and trying to understand what's going on. So if we end up on this side, it's going to become much, much faster and much more disruptive. And the ones who are the early adopters are the ones that are going to win in this new change that we're seeing. So what does that mean? Well, we're going from scraping and indexing websites to calling them. And how are the big guys doing in all of this? Not very well. The average score is about 55 out of 100 in the top 100 websites according to Cloudflare. And you can take your website to something like agentready.md and just check how well your site is scoring in terms of agent readiness. There's many different websites that offer this right now. But nobody has nailed this perfectly yet because it's so new at the moment. So, and just the beginning of this year, what are we now? We're still in May. Earlier this year, we've seen all these different technologies coming up, everything from OpenClaw, whatever it's called right now. They change the name every 2 days. The founder of OpenClaw is now working for OpenAI. We see Moltbook, which is kind of the Reddit of the bots, so it's lots of bots chatting with bots, was acquired by Meta in, I think, less than 2 months from launching. So there is a lot of excitement. There is also a lot of buzz. So, try to find whatever works and, filter out the noise and the hype. So we talked about those two different audiences. Humans still need whatever we've been giving them in the past. They need that beauty, and they've been taken out on that kind of user journey, while the agents need structure, clarity, and that clarity is going to be very, very important. And those things are not in conflict. So if your agents would be able to do everything, what's the point of beautiful design? That's a question that comes all the time. Why do I need to do UX? I can just, prompt myself something AI native. And, that's an unspoken question that kind of comes up. And the simple answer is, well, regardless of technology, the airlines will still be flying the planes. And regardless of what's happening, the restaurant will still be cooking the food, and the doctor will still be seeing the patients. We're just changing some of the back-end stuff that are happening. We're only changing a couple of components in the interface. Whoever is the expert will still be the one serving their audience. So this is how it looks like when finding that car. The agent is going out, visiting a lot of different websites and portals, and if they cannot access some of them, they try to find someone who's a competitor or an extension of those, and they will send a bit of a short list. What could happen maybe a year or two down the line is that they also can get maybe access to one's one password or credit card details. We've seen some crappy examples of that when AI can go really rogue. But maybe we can find a process for that as well. So for now, the humans are in charge of making the final call, but most of the heavy lifting is done elsewhere. So again, if we put that in a split screen, talking about the humans, they're going to need that beauty, the trust, and trust is a very important element here, especially in the age of AI, that anyone can prompt a website or something that looks very professional in a couple of minutes. So it's about storytelling for the humans. It's about building that bridge and that trust while we need to provide that clarity. And I think clarity is an underappreciated word in the web industry because you need it both for the humans but also for the agents. And for everything that you're doing. So maybe, baby, we should think about the industry in a little bit in different terminology. Maybe let's redefine some of the rules that we've been setting for the past couple of years. So maybe when we talk about web design, I think there's a mistake in thinking that design only means what the humans would see. Maybe we should redefine design as also technical design. Design should be also what systems can understand. So going back to the previous image, humans and machines. And there's actually a good website that I really like. It's called parallel.ai. So it's an AI startup, and they have built their website, and there's a toggle at the bottom where it says human agent. And you can see the cool website for the humans, or you can just see the source code adapted for the agents. So maybe this is where we should go, redefining some of those roles that we've had in the past. So maybe instead of being an interface architect, maybe you're an experienced orchestrator. Maybe instead of being a web designer, you should be a systems builder. Because again, design is about thinking in systems as well. And instead of being a pixel pusher, maybe one should be an agent wrangler, although that's going to maybe take a year or two before we get there. And there's a dark side for everything that is happening, and technology is moving very fast. We're seeing, unfortunately, some people taking use of all of this fantastic technology being deployed. We're seeing examples of indirect prompt injections. So the humans are obviously not seeing what's happening where there is some damaging code that would be seen. So this is seen as the threat number one right now for some of the AI adoption in terms of websites. So have that also in the back of your minds. You're going to hear some crazy stories, and there will be some fear, uncertainty, and doubt about some of those new things that are popping up. And we heard many speakers talk about what's going to happen on Monday, how I'm going to bring this into my business. And I was thinking, it's still Thursday. Why don't they implement it on Friday? But I remember there's an after party, and you will be hungover as hell tonight because of the rakia. So let's bring it to Monday. Exactly. Woohoo! So what are you going to do on Monday? And if you've heard different flavors of this. So here are my thoughts, at least. So maybe, first of all, let's make sure that the site is explaining itself, okay? And there are some technical components. I think there are much better technical people in this room that can tell you this. But try to be less vague because, again, it is quite binary, pun intended, okay, when it comes to machines. And two, we talk about call to actions. And maybe take that one specific important action that you want people to do on your website and make it findable by those agents. Whether that is, serve me a quote or contact us or whatever it is. Purchase. Make it findable. Start small. 3, change the client brief. For those of you who work in agencies or as freelancers, maybe you should add those questions to your clients as a part of the brief. There's nothing technical about this. These are simple questions. Question number 1, who needs to understand this website and how? 2, what should an agent be able to accurately summarize about your website? 3, what should an agent be allowed to do on this website? And there's a governance question. Ta-da! What must require human confirmation first? I'm seeing a couple of sites. They're shit scared about agents, so they are just blocking the sites completely from agents. And I think that is stupido. Don't do that, please. But you should absolutely optimize for it. So I kind of started my morning wondering when was the last time I browsed the web. And I think the question we're ending up on is, how can I make a website worth understanding? That's the question that we're going to have. So, in summary, build websites for humans, but make them readable by machines. And the craft for everyone in the room is knowing the difference between those two. Thank you very much.